Most of us are stuck in a very specific routine. We wake up, go to work, and trade hours of our day for a paycheck. It often feels like running a marathon, where the finish line keeps moving out of reach. The problem with this setup is how fragile it is. Your income is directly tied to your physical presence. If you get sick, take a break, or simply decide you want to stop working, the money stops flowing immediately. Financial independence is the ability to step off that treadmill for good, without losing your ability to pay for the things you need to live. Achieving this doesn't rely on drawing a lucky lottery ticket. Instead, you need to build an asset machine, a robotic clone of yourself. While you sleep, travel, or spend time with family, this clone goes to work in your place. Building this machine from the ground up might sound complicated, but anyone can do it by executing a simple 3-step mathematical formula. Step 1 is figuring out exactly how much fuel your machine will need to survive. We call this establishing your baseline. To calculate this baseline, you look through your recent bank statements and add up what you spend on survival needs. This covers rent, groceries, and basic utilities, separating the things you must have from the things you simply want. Once you find that number, you lock it in. Even if you start making more money later, your baseline stays exactly the same to prevent your lifestyle from slowly expanding to match a bigger paycheck. Step 2 is about gathering the spare parts you will use to physically build your machine. To get more parts, you need to bring in more active income. There are a few direct ways to accelerate this. You can negotiate a raise, pivot to a stronger salary, or start a side hustle. This diagram shows exactly what happens when you hold your expenses steady and grow your income. The bar on the left is your locked baseline. The bar on the right is your newly increased income. That glowing space right between them is what we call the gap. Every single dollar that falls into this space has one purpose. It goes directly toward constructing your financial clone. Making that gap as wide as possible is the engine of wealth creation. If you spend everything you earn, there is no gap, which means you have 0 parts to build your machine. Step 3 is the physical assembly of your machine. You take spare parts you gathered in the gap and use them to buy assets. In the simplest terms, an asset is anything you purchase that automatically puts money back into your pocket over time. These are things like index funds tracking the stock market, real estate properties rented to tenants, or a profitable small business. Building the machine requires you to do this over and over again. You continuously take the money pooled in your gap and convert it directly into these income-producing assets. A common mistake is using that extra money to buy liabilities instead, things like expensive cars or designer clothes. Those items pull money out of your pocket every month, actively draining the machine you are trying to build. Every asset you acquire, from index funds to rental properties, represents a permanent purchase of your future time. Eventually, your focus shifts from building the machine to watching it operate. The assets you've collected start generating their own independent money through stock dividends, bank interest, and monthly rent checks. Building momentum. As your machine reinvests those dividends to buy even more assets, the entire system accelerates. Its output grows exponentially, entirely without your physical effort. This graph shows the final mathematical test. That flat horizontal line is your locked baseline cost of living. That upward curving line is the independent income generated by your assets, rising higher every month. There is a specific mathematical moment where that asset income finally climbs high enough to surpass your monthly living expenses. We call this intersection the crossover point. It is mathematical proof that your machine now generates enough cash to fully fund your survival. By holding your baseline steady, growing your income, and buying assets, your financial clone has completely taken over. You can finally walk away from the treadmill and reclaim your life.